Well, good morning, friends and family, and welcome to our Wednesday, October 2nd edition of the Walking with Jesus devotional. Today we're on page 49 in our reader, and we'll be reading from John chapter 7, verses 10 through 14, where Jesus is teaching about Sabbath and circumcision. So, here we go. But after his brothers left for the festival, Jesus also went, though secretly, staying out of public view. The Jewish leaders tried to find him at the festival and kept asking if anyone had seen him. There was a lot of grumbling about him among the crowds. Some argued, "He's a good man," but others said, "He's nothing but a fraud who deceives people." But no one had the courage to speak favorably about him in public, for they were afraid of getting in trouble with the Jewish leaders. Then, midway through the festival, Jesus went up to the temple and began to teach. The people were surprised when they heard him. How does he know so much when he hasn't been trained?" they asked. So Jesus told them, "My message is not my own. It comes from God, who sent me. Anyone who wants to do the will of God will know whether my teaching is from God or is merely my own. Those who speak for themselves want glory only for themselves. But a person who seeks to honor the one who sent him speaks truth, not lies. Moses gave you the law, but none of you obeys it. In fact, you are trying to kill me." The crowd replied, "You're demon-possessed. Who's trying to kill you?" Jesus replied, "I did one miracle on the Sabbath, and you were amazed. But you work on the Sabbath too, when you obey Moses' law of circumcision. Actually, this tradition of circumcision began with the patriarchs, long before the law of Moses. For if the correct time for circumcising your son falls on the Sabbath, you go ahead and do it so as not to break the law of Moses. So why should you be angry with me for healing a man on the Sabbath? Look beneath the surface so you can judge correctly." So just a couple of thoughts. Really just one thought. The reality is there are cultural norms and things that we believe we should do, things that we want to do, things that we participate in. And then there are the religious norms, the things that we know God wants us to do, the things God wants us to participate in. And I'm not just talking about a Sunday morning thing. The reality is that when the things of God push against the things of this earth, which are we going to choose? This really is an extension off of yesterday. They were willing to break one rule, keeping the Sabbath, in order to keep another rule, circumcision, and they had no qualms about it. Now, I'm sure that somewhere along the way, some leader came along and gave them some rational explanation why you should do this one and not this one. But I wonder, what would this look like for us today? What would it look like for the things that God wants us to do to come in conflict with the things that this world says we should do? What would we choose? I can tell you very honestly, as a parent with 4 kids, 2 of whom are already gone, there were times where we just told our kids, "I'm sorry, you can't do that. We've got to do these things in the church." And they suffered for it. And I felt bad for them. I really did. I even felt somewhat bad for the team because the kids weren't at a sporting event, that they did a practice on a Wednesday night, or they did a game on a Sunday afternoon. These are hard decisions to make, and I'm not saying that we always made them correctly. And I don't know what the answer is for you, but I know that this is a reality. Who you put first, what you put first, makes a lot of difference. And if you're not putting God first, you're not putting God first. And if you're not putting God first, you might as well be putting God last. And that's a hard truth to swallow. Something I really don't like even acknowledging. And yet it is what it is. I'm sorry to be giving you such a deep thought on a Wednesday. Normally, you'd want to keep it light as we're trying to get through our week. But maybe it is what we need. As we go through the second half of this week, what are you planning for this weekend? When you get your time free, when you have time to yourself, who are you putting first? Are you putting your marriage first? Are you putting your kids first? Are you putting yourself first? Maybe it's time to look about giving some of that time and putting God first. There's my thought for Wednesday, and blessings to you, and I'll see you tomorrow.